If that was you, could you survive? Is wilderness survival really that important to know?
I think it's learning how to take care of your most fundamental human needs while in a situation where you don't have all of the equipment and gear and materials that you might be used to.
So wilderness survival is important because it allows us to develop a connection with more primitive skills that we have maybe lost in the world that we live in today. And so when you start to work on how to build a fire, how to build a shelter, where to identify or how to identify food to eat out in the woods, you begin to see the woods and the outdoors differently than you had before.
I think wilderness survival is important to know because of the confidence that it gives me when I go out into the woods. And I think that brings a different mindset and approach to being in the woods and to experiencing it while at ease. So because I've learned some of these skills, I'm not afraid of some of the things that could go wrong because I know some of how to work with it to keep myself safe.
But if wilderness survival is important for people who love the outdoors, why does it matter to people who don't go outside as much? How do people get into wilderness survival?
Wilderness survival has changed me in a profound way. I think for us to be connected to nature and ultimately to be connected to ourselves, we have to slow down and see the things that are around us. Whether that's other people, the plants, the animals, the bugs, the dead trees, the live trees, the branches that hang down from them. And once we start to see all of these other living creatures that live alongside us on this planet, we start to find community that's different from what we typically think of as community.
I think wilderness survival has changed me in that it's given me a greater appreciation for how much I don't know about the natural world and how much I'm capable of learning about the natural world. It's sort of an avenue into exploring more about nature and wildlife and plants and becoming more connected to the broader world. And for me personally, I would say connected more to the bulk of human history. I got into wilderness survival because I spent a lot of time outside growing up in Vermont as a kid. I did some hunting and fishing. My father had a small booklet called You Alone in the North Woods, and I really enjoyed reading that little booklet that was meant to instruct hunters about how to survive if they happened to get turned around and needed to spend the night in the woods on their own. So one thing led to another. I went off to college and studied anthropology and was fascinated by the way that different cultures have managed to survive and thrive in different environments all over the globe.
While wilderness survival might look and sound like a good time, many people overlook the fact that wilderness survival isn't easy. They just see it on TV and think, oh, I can do that. But in reality, it's just a whole different bucket of fish.
How is wilderness survival different from how it's portrayed on TV and in the movies? Well, it's often not very glamorous, and it's often very boring. It might mean, making a giant pile of leaves and sleeping in that, or drinking muddy water, or waiting, 15 hours for someone to find you. It might not be the most active and engaging and flashy activity ever. It might involve things that are either kind of gross or kind of mundane.
Fundamentally, the difference is the amount of time these skills take to develop, and the amount of time that the people that are probably on those shows took to accomplish whatever feat they accomplished on those shows. And so if you want to become proficient at any of these things, you need to do what's called dirt time. And that's spend a lot of time in the dirt. I think that it's useful to understand the landscape and your environment. And if that includes knowing what you can eat or how you can stay comfortable if you ever get lost in the woods. I think if you spend a lot of time in the outdoors, these skills can be useful. I wouldn't say that they're absolutely necessary, but they're an amazing way to start to connect with your natural environment.
Our current world is going through so many environmental changes, and it's important to see what's going on around us to connect not only with the people around, but the nature as well. Learning wilderness survival skills might not be 100% necessary for you, but it could change your attitude and mindset about not just the outdoors, but yourself as well. People always say, never fall far from your roots. Have you?